Moments podcast with me, Shuang Cai. In this show, I am going to talk to artists, academics, industry practitioners, and entrepreneurs from a variety of backgrounds, each of whom is committed to imagining a better tomorrow and working to make it a reality. Some of their experiences are experimental, some are highly practical and ambitious. Most importantly, each dialogue is imaginative because we want to engage in dialogue with people from all over the world who are curious about life, to enjoy a moment together, to seize the moment, to seize eternity. Join me and these amazing people and their experience life as it's meant to be lived. To the Moments podcast, and
thank you very much.
Very nice to meet you last time. And would you like to introduce a little about your past experience in theatre or film industry practice?
Sure. So my name's Harry. I am a theatre director and dramaturg. I initially read a theatre, drama and performance degree, and then went and trained as an actor at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, which I graduated from about 15 years ago. And then after working as an understudy, I was a very good understudy. That tells you a lot about my acting profile. I segued into directing through the Esme Fairbairn resident director apprenticeship at the Tricycle Theatre, which is now known as the Kiln Theatre in Kilburn, northwest London. And kind of that was this apprenticeship where I was an assistant director on their productions, as well as being part of the artistic team and interacting with all the other departments of that theatre, and how that kind of NPO, Arts Council institution functions. And then from there kind of like became a freelance director, I guess. I have been an associate on some productions at the National Theatre, as well as directing my work on the London Fringe. And then in 2020, a producer friend and colleague, Nisha Oza, and I set up our own production company, The Lot. And through some Arts Council funding, we were able to commission adaptations of existing texts by new playwrights, not new playwrights, by playwrights. And we did the first one of those, a production called What It Means, in 2003, at the same time that I began a practice as research PhD with Leeds Beckett University, which is using a queer dramaturgy as a tool to understand the impact of a law called Section 28. And that brings us right up to date.
Could you elaborate on your journey, through those kind of, different positions or projects that you have done, and they shaped your artistic perspective nowadays?
Okay, I can do that. I think that's an interesting question. How do they shape an artistic perspective? Because I guess that's kind of like this constant dialogue about the situations that you find yourself in and the lens you bring to them, and then how they in turn shape your own. I think in terms of drama school and actor training, I mean, actor training is integral to the PhD at the moment, and thinking about how the young person who is educated then becomes the actor in training, and how certain learned behaviors continue into that space, and what happens when those learned behaviors continue into a space of, one would hope, creativity and self-expression. In terms of how that actor training has shaped my artistic perspective, I mean, I guess it was quite a traditional actor training, and I think potentially it's more how has it shaped my pedagogical approach to training actors as an acting teacher, and kind of thinking and what care is required to get especially young people to understand certain crafts and techniques of performing, allowing them to also navigate the fluidity of learning about yourself as a young person.
Is it because you feel a little bit tired of, acting on stage, and then you try to be a director rather than, always as an actor?
From my work with the Tricycle and Kiln and the National, I would say that the artistic perspective has been shaped by my peers who I met there.
Yeah.
So like, Aisha, who I run a lot with, we were both very young, director and producer, and the very conversations we had about the kind of work we wanted to make, our experiences there, what we were kind of metabolizing from that building, we were then able to take into our own practice. And likewise, like actors, I have an amazing collaborative relationship with a called Aisha Antoine, and she's writing for The Lot now, and kind of how she sees the craft of performing challenged how this very normative approach that I had. Aisha works a lot with a company called Told by an Idiot, who work a lot in planning and devising. And I stood theatre making from a hierarchical perspective. From a director does this and they are at the top, and a writer does this and they are somewhere else, and then everyone else just falls in line. But
what about the producer? The producer is always on the top level.
Yeah, money is at the very top.
Yeah.
So I guess they are how my artistic, I guess it's the people, the collaborators that I've met in all those spaces that have shifted how I work. I think maybe younger people today might see it slightly differently here, but I think I was very quick to be like, I'm no longer an actor, I'm now a director. This is the only box I shall fit myself into. And it's interesting because even at the time, you look over at artists in America and they're much more comfortable to be across different name titles, job descriptions.
And I noticed that you direct some films, right?
Right.
So my understanding is filmmaking, as a filmmaking director or as a theater director, it's kind of two techniques. So where do you find the commonality between, directing for stage and screen, and what kind of techniques you prove that are non-transferable? Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question. I think context is very important here, because I think had there not been the COVID-19 pandemic, I would never have made those films. And I think that came from a very specific place of plays not happening for a while.
In person.
Yeah. In person.
A lot of shows online instead.
Yeah, exactly. And as we've just seen with my microphone not working to begin with, I'm not the best person technically. So plays online are not, it just didn't cross my mind to do it actually. But my partner is a writer and filmmaker. So I had and Nisha, my producer, the producer at The Lot, produced those short films. So I had an understanding of how they were created. And I guess what I have come to realize from how I work is that potentially the collaborative kind of magical approach of making plays, of being in a room together and slowly affecting and shaping a piece of work, is so fundamentally different to making a film where everyone is in their own compartments and everything gets set up, and then you all come together and you someone says action and it all happens, and then you go into the edit and then blah 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 blah. So I guess I am not the way that I relate to work and relators and audiences is in that very immediate live space. Having said that, the thing I learned most from filming, and that I was kind of this very special moment, was on the first day of shooting the first short, the utter silence when action is called, and the concentration. And there's almost something quite dramaturgical about that silence. And it made me think, as a performance, as a live performance maker, how do you create a dramaturgy that elicits that much focus and attention from everybody in the space, not just audience or performer, but everybody, and it unifies them, and everybody in that shared experience is aware they are part of they are an integral part of that storytelling, as much as the focus puller or the boom holder or the actor is in a film. So I guess that was my ultimate learning. My ultimate learning is how do you take the silence from shooting into a focused energy in live performance?
Which one do you prefer? Directing for stage or directing for screen? Stage, definitely, right? Definitely.
I just can't see myself ever directing for screen again. I also found it really hard to look at the monitor. I always wanted to look at the actors act in front of me and not look at the monitor, and I realized apparently Quentin Tarantino does that, but I'm not a big Tarantino fan, so I guess.
But still your work looks really good. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Have you done film?
Not like a proper film, but I film like interview. I interviewed more than 100 artists.
Wow.
Yeah, and I filmed it and I edited it.
Okay.
I mean, my eyes are dead.
Yeah. And how did you find, how did that, what do you think the camera does to that interview process?
I do think sometimes when you are interviewing people, if there's camera in front of them, they feel so, embarrassed or uncomfortable. And sometimes the words or the line that they are speaking to you is not, really authentic. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, they pretend to be an interviewee, a famous person or a proper artist, but it's not the real one that I used to know.
Yeah.
So I think the camera really changes the way that people react.
I agree. I think that's I completely agree. The notion, I've been thinking a lot this week about teaching actors quote unquote screen acting, and the idea that the camera never lies, and you think, well, I'm not sure I agree with that. It's like the camera adds such a pressure to that situation, and what does the gaze of the camera do?
You've mentioned funding system in the UK. I really wonder, like for you guys, do you really, find the funding system, do a lot of help to you or your team or your company? So could you share your experience navigating the UK's arts funding landscape?
I can. It is...
Even though it's declining, right? The money is declining, yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm not really fully understanding of economics or the economic system within which we exist. But I guess my lived experience of it, my direct experience, is just how non-stop, even in big organizations, the funding aspect is. It's just this continual treadmill of needing more financial resources. And I guess, what does it mean to pay people fairly for their labor, especially when the labor is so intense in theatre, and the amount of remuneration required it's such a tall ask for companies to be able to deliver that in the current climate. That said, we are, I think, incredibly lucky to have an arts council, and that this notion of art being publicly funded after the Second World War is kind of a defining aspect of the theatre that I watched growing up, and how even when I went to university, the fees were so low.
Whereas nowadays,
it's astronomical. So it's kind of like, I really, really value it. And I think sometimes when it comes to funding applications or that hustle for money, it can really enable you to focus on the projects and to hone the idea. It can almost be like a workshop for the idea in a sense, and that the act of finding the right fund, finding the right supporters, finding those people who will get the work and then support it is, I guess I would look at it dramaturgically as well, and it can help develop the work. Having said that, I'm never the person actually doing the funding applications.
Loads of paperwork.
They are there is so much labor that goes into them. And I guess my reservation about the whole thing is who has the time and space to put that labor in before the payment has been made. And there's a lot riding on money coming back because so much is needed up front to get the funding going. I have yet to, beyond becoming a national portfolio organisation, I don't know how companies or artists exist on a not project by project basis. I mean, that's really how I work, is project by project.
I really wonder what kind of reason that made you, have the decision, okay, I'm going to apply for a PhD, because you have been doing practical projects for more than 15 years.
I guess I understood the process behind it because my twin brother has a science PhD. So I have seen that. I understood the whole concept of what it is. So I guess that is a hugely privileged position of witnessing how the process works. Although I didn't understand anything that he was doing or necessarily got it at the time. But I guess I felt that I was reaching a very low bar in how I viewed work and made work, because I was very aware of the competitive nature of the industry. And I wanted to start thinking more. I wanted to start thinking deeply, I guess, and not just reach for things on a very light level and expect to be brilliant. And then I guess, so they're the first two things. And then the third aspect of it is the fact that Section 28 was a law that I grew up under and had just started. It was the 20th anniversary of the repeal. So there were articles and conversation and art was starting to be created around it. And that prompted me to start to think about how a specific piece of legislation, rather than just blanket homophobia or blanket compulsory heteronormativity, had shaped me and me as a person and as an artist, and almost defined some of the routes that I went down in a way that I had no access to. So those three aspects, those were the three plates that were spinning. I thought, oh, okay, I could put this together in a project, and the project required the time and space and integrity of the academy, I guess.
Very interesting phenomenon that I observed recently, that there are so many artists or art practitioners return back to academia, after like 20 years of practical experience in the industry. Me, like 7 years in the industry, you 15 years in the industry, go back to university, go for a PhD degree. But this phenomenon is not that common, let's say 20 or 30 years ago, right? So do you think it's all about the economy, or it's just about, the less value of the degree?
Wow.
If you can see what I mean.
I really can see what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I think about when I was training and the people, but I guess there is an energy in artists that maybe if there is a lack of resource or output, it is a very clear, structured way to channel energy and imagination and discipline through the framework of a PhD. I mean, I don't know if that's got something to do with it.
Yes, to be a little bit, go deeper for this question. Do you think that based on our industry experience, and then we can get our PhD degree after several years, then if we go for a, position in any institutions, will we be more competitive than the pure scholars? They only do the academic work for years. Will we be the one that the institutions really look for?
I'm not sure I had even thought about it in terms of what the career progression could be. And I still think that is quite a new
phenomenon, you say?
Phenomenon for me to get my head around. It's like, oh, this could have a totally transformative change on my trajectory. And there is another possible, I guess it's just much more institutional to go into that research track, or it can be. There is a perception that it could be from me. And in a way, that seems quite relaxing coming from a freelancing background.
people who are 3 or 4 years younger than me who are thinking about applying for a practice-based PhD as well. So if you are facing those bunch of people in the future, what kind of suggestions you would say to them before they, really start this journey?
Well, I'd probably just be very enthusiastic and say go for it. I think it's about, I guess, what do I think? I feel that nothing can really prepare you for nothing prepared me for how I have not thought about anything else for 2 years. And that it becomes so integral to everything that I do. So I guess, and I'm not sure that anyone could have prepared me for that either. I think it's something that just emerges from the focus of the work. So in a sense, you kind of would just have to trust. I would just have to trust that the people seeking the advice are going to jump into it fully. And I guess I'd just be interested in what their chosen subject was and why, and kind of really just ask them to think around their inquiry and what it would be like to hang out with that inquiry 24/7 for 4 years. And how you would do that, how you would position yourself within that. I think that would be an interesting conversation to start with people at the beginning of that journey of proposing projects. That was really exciting for me. I found that developing the project and really honing the proposal through meeting with different institutions and different academics was very provocative and shaped it to the point where an institution thought, yes, there's value and potential contribution to knowledge and practice here.
But do you think that even though we are doing practice-based research, there's still a persistent gap between, industry context and research?
I guess some people are looking at areas that are very close or directly the industry, so that there is a kind of more applicable topic for returning to that kind of space. Yet I also feel that there is something, every job I've ever done, no matter how small, I'm talking, it could be like a rehearsed reading for 2 days or
a workshop
or a project over 18 months. There is such, every artist I have worked with does a form of research. They really collect information which they then translate through their own practice, whether that's an actor or a designer or marketing. So I think whilst it is a really specific academic context, the PhD, that critical imagination and inquisitiveness is really present in theatre and performance.
Yeah. I still remember that there's James Thompson. Have you read his book before? We should focus more on, I think, affect rather than effect. If I'm correct.
Lovely. I'm actually going to write that down right now.
What kind of life or, near future you would imagine your life would be? Let's say in 3 or in 5 years. Not that long, but like in 3 or in 5 years.
Do you know the answer to this question for you?
If I'm lucky enough, be an assistant professor in an institution. Yeah. Wow. Good for me. Enough for me. Wow. Yeah.
You've done it. That's a very clear answer. And I'm impressed. I think mine is probably a little bit more fluid. I would like to be in a place where live performance continues to be integral to all the plates that I spin to keep the wolf, the door, and my imagination alive.
So you would like to still stay in the industry, right, rather than in academia?
Well, I guess I might want to unpick the word industry there. The way that I live is by making work. So I guess I'm going to be making work. I'm going to be making live performance. How that happens, I don't know yet. We just got to let the tide take us where the tide takes us. I guess that is such a different thing. The idea of staying in academia is, I've met lots of people who have done that, and I think there's such value in it, and there is huge value in going out into the industry, and there's everything in between that as well. I guess what I would just add is I've made it sound incredibly linear how I have worked, but within those 15 years, I had almost 2 years as an event manager in a central London venue. I've been a crew boy, backstage in theatre, obviously a waiter, bar staff. It has been as what I've needed to do to keep expressing myself in the way I express myself, I have done. It has not just been acting, directing, PhD. And I think that's it. It's like, if people are, at the time you don't think it, but what I learned as a crew boy, I winched King Lear's throne backwards and forwards on a production. But what I got from that production was as valuable as what I got from drama school, as what I got from the Tricycle, it was... That is as important with the craft. Being a front of house assistant, understanding how the whole operation occurs is as important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Each experience values. Yeah. Anyway, Harry, it's very nice to talk with you. Best wishes and best of luck.
All right, take care.
Many thanks to Harry's contribution and time, and thanks for listening. See you next time.